We live in an age where the internet is no longer a tool. It is the bloodstream of modern civilization. From the moment we wake up and check our phones, to the moment we fall asleep scrolling through social media, our lives are entangled with the invisible web of data, servers, and satellites. Banking, transportation, medicine, entertainment, even love, all of it flows through fiber optic cables and wireless signals. The internet is not a luxury. It is infrastructure. Yet, like all infrastructure, it is fragile. Beneath the oceans, massive undersea cables carry almost all global data. Satellites hover in orbit, relaying signals across continents. Vast data centers store the collective memory of humanity. But what if one day it all vanished? What if tomorrow morning we woke up to discover that the World Wide Web, the system that sustains our modern lives, had gone dark? This scenario may sound like science fiction, but experts warn it is not impossible. Solar storms, cyber attacks, massive power grid failures, all could trigger a collapse of the digital ecosystem. The internet feels infinite, yet its foundations are alarmingly vulnerable. This documentary explores that chilling question: what would happen if the global internet disappeared tomorrow? The first 24 hours of collapse. The clock strikes midnight. Somewhere, a switch is flipped, or perhaps it is not a switch at all, but a chain of failures spreading silently across the globe. By dawn, something feels different. Phones fail to load messages. Computers cannot connect. Streaming platforms vanish into silence. Confusion turns to panic. In the first hours, disbelief dominates. People assume it's a technical glitch, a temporary outage. But as the morning unfolds, the scale of the disaster becomes clear. Airlines cannot access digital navigation data, grounding flights worldwide. Hospitals lose access to cloud-based medical records, forcing doctors to rely on memory and paper. News networks, unable to broadcast updates online, leave millions in the dark. By midday, the financial world collapses. Markets halt. ATMs no longer function. Credit cards are useless. Businesses cannot process payments. Entire economies freeze in place, paralyzed by their reliance on invisible streams of code. And then comes the human reaction. Anxiety, frustration, fear. Families realize they cannot contact loved ones in distant cities or countries. Soldiers cannot receive orders. Leaders cannot coordinate responses. Within 24 hours, society realizes that what has been lost is not just convenience, it is communication itself. The first day ends not with answers, but with a profound silence. For the first time in decades, billions of people look up from their screens and face a terrifying truth. The network that bound them together is gone. The economy in darkness, banks, markets, and frozen commerce. The internet is the nervous system of the global economy. Remove it, and the body collapses. On day 2 of the blackout, chaos deepens. International markets, already frozen, begin to unravel. Stock exchanges cannot operate. Trillions of dollars evaporate in a matter of hours. Banks, stripped of digital access, revert to outdated systems. But money has become data. Without the internet, it is nearly impossible to verify balances, transfer funds, or process salaries. People flood banks, desperate to withdraw cash, but there is only so much paper currency in circulation. Within days, lines stretch for blocks, as citizens demand access to their savings that no longer exist in usable form. Trade collapses. Ships carrying goods remain stranded at ports, unable to process digital manifests. Trucks stop moving, their routes dependent on GPS. Supermarkets empty as supply chains grind to a halt. The illusion of infinite abundance vanishes. Humanity rediscovers hunger, scarcity, and the brutal fragility of commerce. In the absence of formal systems, black markets emerge. Barter resurfaces. Food, fuel, and medicine become the new currency. The digital economy, once taken for granted, is replaced by primal survival economics. The contrast is jarring. In the span of days, humanity regresses centuries. Governments scramble to impose order, but their own infrastructure relies on the internet. Tax systems collapse. Welfare payments vanish. The state's authority weakens as people turn to local communities for survival. The internet was not just a network, it was the backbone of the global economy. And without it, the world economy is not merely wounded. It is shattered. Daily life without connection. For individuals, the collapse is deeply personal. Students arrive at schools where digital learning has vanished. Teachers scramble for chalkboards and textbooks long forgotten. Hospitals face disaster, medical records lost, pharmaceutical orders delayed, and diagnostic machines useless without connectivity. Lives are measured not in progress, but in loss. At home, families attempt to adapt. Teenagers stare at blank screens, cut off from friends and communities built online. Couples discover silence where once there was streaming music and shared videos. The internet was not just information, it was companionship. Without it, loneliness creeps in. Small businesses crumble. A bakery that relied on mobile payments cannot sell bread. Delivery apps vanish. Gig workers, drivers, freelancers, millions find themselves unemployed overnight. The psychological toll is immense. People who once lived half their lives online feel as though half their identities have been erased. Depression, anxiety, even violence rise as the disconnection deepens. The digital blackout is not merely technical, it is emotional. And yet, something unexpected happens. Neighbors speak to one another again. Children rediscover physical play. Families share meals without distraction. For some, the silence brings not terror, but clarity. In the ruins of the digital age, fragments of a simpler humanity reappear. But even these moments of rediscovery cannot mask the truth. Survival in a disconnected world is brutal, and the longer the blackout persists, the more civilization itself trembles. The war of information and the risk of global chaos. By the end of the first week, the absence of internet connectivity sparks a new kind of war, not fought with bombs, but with silence. Without communication, governments lose control. Armies cannot coordinate. International diplomacy freezes. Allies cannot speak, and enemies thrive in the chaos. Rumors spread unchecked. With no social media, no global news, misinformation circulates by word of mouth. A single false report can ignite riots, topple leaders, or spark conflict. Information, once abundant, becomes the scarcest resource. In military terms, the blackout is catastrophic. Satellites become useless without ground communication. Drones and cyber defense systems fall silent. Nations vulnerable to attack find themselves blind and deaf. In the uncertainty, mistrust escalates. Is this blackout a natural disaster, perhaps a solar storm, or is it the result of a cyber weapon unleashed by an enemy? The line between accident and war blurs. Some governments declare states of emergency. Others turn inward, tightening borders, preparing for conflict. Without the internet, the world becomes not only disconnected, but dangerously unstable. Dependence and the future of connectivity. The great digital blackout reveals a haunting truth. Humanity has built a civilization so deeply dependent on the internet that its sudden loss would unravel everything. Our economies, our governments, our identities. But within the terror lies a lesson. Dependence without resilience is fragility. Perhaps the true danger is not losing the internet, but never preparing for the possibility. Should nations create backup systems? Should individuals learn to live without constant connection? The internet has given us miracles, but also chains. If tomorrow it vanished, would we survive? Or would we crumble under the weight of our own dependence? The story of the blackout is not about machines. It is about us. About who we are when the screens go dark. So the question remains, are we prepared for the day the digital lights go out?